You may have seen the ITV news report on the 8th of March 2025. ITV claim that they know the nature and scope of the changes that the government are going to announce concerning PIP. We have not yet had an official government announcement, and what ITV say may merely be speculation. However, the remainder of this video spells out what RTV is claiming.
Government, led by Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall, is planning to make some significant cuts, aiming to save over £6 billion. One of the key areas they're targeting is PIP, Personal Independence Payment. And let me tell you, it's creating quite a stir. First off, eligibility for PIP is going to become tighter. Expect more rigorous assessments and new criteria, which means many people might unfortunately lose their benefits. On top of that, PIP payments are going to be frozen in 2026. With inflation on the rise, this freeze will essentially reduce the real value of what you receive. Universal credit is also getting a makeover. If you're actively searching for work or currently employed, you might see a bit more cash. But for those deemed unfit for work, the rate is going to drop. They're redirecting £1 billion to support job seekers, but it comes at a cost for those unable to work. Now, the rationale behind these changes? Liz Kendall says the current system is broken and disincentivizes work. The aim is to encourage people back into employment with the right support. But critics argue it's unfair for those genuinely unable to work, pushing already vulnerable people further into poverty.
This tightening of the criteria, coupled with a freeze on payments that will see their real-term value eroded by inflation, is expected to result in significant financial hardship for many. The Resolution Foundation, a think tank, has warned that the scale of restrictions required to achieve the government's target of £5 billion in savings will effectively redefine disability, excluding many who currently rely on PIP from accessing vital financial assistance. The human cost of reform: millions face financial uncertainty. The impact of these changes will be felt most acutely by those already struggling to make ends meet. An estimated 4 million people, many of whom rely on PIP to cover essential living costs such as housing, food and transport, are set to lose out. For those living with disabilities, these payments often represent a lifeline, enabling them to live independently and participate fully in society. The government's decision to cut this vital source of support has been met with anger and dismay by disability rights groups, who argue that it will have a devastating impact on the lives of millions. They point out that the UK spends far less on social security as a proportion of GDP than many other developed countries. Furthermore, they argue that the government's own figures show that fraud and error in the PIP system are relatively low. Instead of targeting those in genuine need, critics argue that the government should be focusing on tackling the root causes of poverty and inequality, such as low wages and insecure work. The government's plans have been met with fierce opposition from across the political spectrum, with many accusing the government of balancing the books on the backs of the poor and vulnerable. Labour leader Angela Rayner has described the cuts as cruel and unnecessary, while the charity scope has warned that they will push more disabled people into poverty. The MS Society has expressed deep concern about the impact of the changes on people with multiple sclerosis, warning that they could lead to worsening health and increased poverty. As the debate over the future of PIP rages on, one thing is clear: the stakes are high for millions of people with disabilities who rely on this vital source of support. The government's decision to press ahead with these controversial reforms despite widespread opposition is likely to have far-reaching consequences, not only for those directly affected but for society as a whole.